Well, hello, you know, with St. Patty's coming up, we can really get into the what? The corned beef, the cabbage, the beautiful roast. But what if you don't feel like actually corning your own or pickling your own brisket? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Guess what? This year I'm not. So I have one here that I bought, which any of us can do at any grocery store, so we can still enjoy the traditional meal. And we're gonna prepare it together, because there's a few things that do make it, I think, slightly better and make sure it's really tender and fall apart and beautiful. And it starts with a good cut of brisket. So you wanna buy a quality piece that's already done. This is already a corned beef. It has the spices on it. If you don't know what corned beef is, it is a brisket, a piece of a brisket, and it's slightly pickled. So it has different spices on it, allspice berries, juniper berries, mustard seeds, maybe some sugar, salt, all those things. And it sits usually for 3 to 6 days at least, and it pickles slightly. And then we cook it and we bake it and we make it delicious. And what else is this used in? Corned beef hash, I'm sure you've heard of it. Reubens, who doesn't love a good Reuben sandwich? Corned beef with sauerkraut, Thousand Island dressing, so good. So you can do so much with the leftovers. Now, I like to buy a good grass-fed beef. Why? I know, people get, why do you buy grass-fed? I love all the extra omegas that are in it, the good omega fats when you eat grass-fed. It has a lot more nutrients in it, and that's just what I like, but buy whatever one you like. So to start, what we're gonna do is get it ready here. So we have a Dutch oven, a large one, so I can put everything in it. And I'm gonna start by getting an onion ready. So onion, a lot of times when we make things, it's what? That underlying flavor that gives us just that base to begin with, and that's what we're gonna do here. So this is a lot like if we make other roasts. I'm sure you've seen my recipes for Mom's Sunday roast, for, you know, finally even a beef bourguignon is a roast in itself too. So all these things mean we do slow cooking, usually low and slow, because as you do something low and slow like this with certain cuts of meat, it's really gonna tenderize, and all the little ribbons of fat between the meat there is going to melt and just become umptious, delicious. I'm gonna keep most of that root end intact. You can see I'm just trimming off the excess. But what I'm gonna do is just cut this in nice wedges. And we're gonna put this underneath the beef, and it's just gonna act as flavoring underneath, kind of for the jus that we're gonna create. And it's gonna be delicious too, so to eat. So I'm gonna start by just spreading this out underneath everything. And guys, this is how simple it is. So I get it. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes I'll do a recipe on my corned beef if I make it here at home. But this is a great way, if you're not planning ahead, just still to enjoy something good. So we have our beautiful cut of meat here with a clean hand. I'm going to pick it up, and you can see those spices on it. You want to keep those on it. And I'm gonna put it right there. Now, on top of this, what I'm gonna do, and I have my water back here so I can wash my hand with soap and hot water. But now what we wanna do is add a little bit of liquid. And what the liquid do, it does kind of keep it moist, but it also creates a jus underneath, which is what we want. So I have some beef stock here. You could also use a dark beer if you wanted to. And I like to add just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Now, this is completely optional, but what it does is it deepens the flavor. It adds a depth of flavor that is just, you can't really beat. And I love to do this when I do certain roasts. So I'm just gonna stir that. We're gonna add it right underneath everything. Look at all that goodness. Like instantly, it smells amazing. The corned beef itself, it is a good corned beef. There's nothing like it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by putting this in the oven. And it's gonna actually take, depending on the size you have, a total of usually around 3 hours. But for a couple hours, we're just gonna keep it in there, let it slowly cook. In the last hour, we're gonna add in our cabbage, our carrots. Some people do potatoes. I'm not usually a huge carb fan. I like to do it with bread or something when I serve it. So I'm gonna put this in the oven. We're gonna slowly let it roast. Eventually we're gonna get the other things ready, and it's gonna be delicious. Okay, this has been cooking for a few hours, and I pulled it out. Look at that goodness. Oh, that looks good, and it smells really good too. So this is what's great is when you can buy one that is just pre-corned in the store, it does a lot of the work for you, and now we can just reap the benefits really. So I am going to though pull this out. It's starting to get a little tender, which is good. So I'm gonna support it with a spatula underneath, set it aside just so I can get all the goodness underneath it too. So you can tell the color it keeps once it's corned or pickled. It has a little bit more of a red, brighter color. That's normal. But look at all these onions, how they're melting into that stock we put in there, that jus that's being created. I love that. So what I'm gonna do is I have carrots here and I kept them kind of chunky because they're still gonna go in at least an hour yet. So I don't want them just to break down too much. So I just kind of slice them. Some of them I slice in half if I need to, but I just kind of do it on a diagonal and make some nice big pieces of them. And that's what I want. I want it to be nice, big chunks that don't just get mushy or melt away, but stay nice. And this is exactly, look at this. We eat with our eyes, don't we? We all do. So this is a great way to have some bright color, add some good nutrients, but also just be traditional. So I'm gonna chop up my cabbage. You know, I actually love cooked cabbage. So some people might think this is gross, but I really don't think it is at all. The root end, I did trim just a little bit. I like to keep the root on because what it's gonna help me do is keep this intact as I actually go through and slice it into like just big wedges. That's kind of the point here is when you slice into big wedges, that root piece still keeps it together, which is what we want. But then you can kind of go in and they're somewhat held together and you can nestle them down in. So I want some of them to be down in the jus, some of them to be up out of it. And you know, here's the thing. Say you think, I don't like cooked cabbage. One, try it. But two, you don't have to do it. Or you don't have to do as much of it. Do it for the people that like it, and if you don't like it, that's totally fine. Don't feel bad about it. I think, you know what? When it comes to things like this, you do what you like, break the rules you want to break. It's food, it's not science. So I'm not gonna use the whole head because depending on the size you get, they're really big. So I'm just gonna cut up a little bit more of some wedge to put in there, but I only do enough that I need to be able to get this to have all of the people I want to feed and all the goodness I want. Now what I will do, just because I'm someone that cares about looks, I will pull up some carrots as we're going just to make sure you still see that they're in there. Now cabbage, if you haven't cooked with it, you will, guess what? It will really go down in size. So it's kind of gonna get soft and it's gonna be a little bit different when we pull it out. But I like to make sure I smash some in there so you really see it. And pull up some of those carrots. Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. So I'm gonna put this back on top because we want this to be fall apart tender. Fork tender, okay? That's what we want here. And you can see it's just beginning over here, but it's not done yet. So we're gonna let all these other things now cook, meld together. Who doesn't love a pot roast that has everything in it? That's really what this is. Look at this beauty. So I took it out a few minutes ago, have been just letting it cool slightly. So you want your brisket, your corned beef to be fairly fall apart tender, but I like it to hold just enough so I can slice it too, because it's great if it shreds, but it's kind of nice if it slices just because I think it works better then. But look at all this, all that cabbage and carrots, they like soaked up the beautiful flavors of the brisket, which to me is the important part. You just want all that goodness, all that good flavor. And then you can either shred it, or I like to cut it kind of on a bias just to get those grains. I mean, it hardly needs to be cut, but look at that. That is just beautiful. So you can tell by the color, it is gonna be different. This is how corned beef is. It keeps an interesting color after you actually slice it. And guys, let me tell you something here. The flavor, it is just super good. Now, of course, if you would want to make your own, you go ahead. It has to cure for 3 to 6 days, like I said. Has lots of different spices in it, so it just depends what you're wanting. That cabbage, I do. And see, I like that I have big, thick carrots because I think it just serves really well. I think it's pretty. But you can do however you want to. I'm gonna take some of this beef here, put it on, have as much as you want or as little. I mean, the thing is too, when you're going to serve this, you could have most of it all sliced up and then you could put this back on if you want to, just for, let's just talk about looks here for a second. And then it will get some of that jus back in it. You can kind of do whatever you want. And I think that's the best part. And hello, this again, slice it thinly, the leftover, and use it for Reuben's corned beef hash. Just great sandwiches. I don't know, to me there's so many uses. Mom used to every so often just have a corned beef when we were little just because she loved it so much, which I do too. Now I like to make sure I have some of the cabbage with my beef. I like it together. It's great. Why we reserve this for like 1 day a year, I have no idea because it's delicious. What I love about the corned beef is it's just a good cut of beef, but it's fall apart tender for one. You see, I just did that with a fork, but also has just like slight nuances of the flavor. So you get a little bit of those interesting spices. It kicks it up a notch. Has a great texture to it from the pickling. And then when you mix it with like the wonderful cabbage that's just soft and takes on those flavors. And of course, cooked carrot. Who doesn't love cooked carrot? My mom always said it was her favorite. It's one of mine too. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you're inspired to not necessarily corn your own beef, but to buy one and enjoy it. If it's something you haven't done, it's this easy to make. And if you want a traditional meal, here you go. Serve it with some crusty bread, which I'm pretty sure I have some around here somewhere, so I should get it out. And enjoy some of that jus with it. Sop it up, delicious. So share this video around so everyone else can see that this is doable. This is easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. That's the fun part. So as always, check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. They are all on there and they're all just ready for you to be printed off. So until next time, enjoy some good food. That's what it's all about. Happy St. Patrick's Day.